From surviving domestic violence to helping thousands of kids heal, Jacintha Field turned her pain into a roadmap for parents of dysregulated, anxious kids. Ready for practical tools that actually calm big feelings? This episode is for you. Have you ever felt something was wrong but couldn't explain it? Like the person you love was slowly chipping away at your sense of self?
Believe me, we have been there. Different marriages, but to the same man, with the same toxic pattern. But God was still working.
We're Lizzie and Deana, women of faith, survivors, and truth tellers.
Surviving toxic relationships is for any woman stuck in confusion, healing after betrayal, or just searching for her voice again.
You are not crazy.
You are deeply loved.
Hi, welcome back to Surviving Toxic Relationships. I'm Lizzie, and with me is Deana. We have a special guest today, Jacintha Field. She is a family and child counselor, art therapist, and the founder of Happy Souls Kids, a global platform helping children aged 5 to 12 manage big feelings through storytelling, gamified tools, and the voices of role models they admire. Jacintha's mission was born out of her own survival story, escaping domestic violence, navigating solo parenting, and facing emotional burnout. When her young son struggled with anxiety and dysregulation and support services were not available, she retrained in counseling, play therapy, and somatic healing to help him heal. What began as a fight for her own family's well-being was grown into a mission to reach 100,000 children by 2027. Featured in Mamma Mia, Kid Spot, and Thrive Global, Jacintha brings a powerful mix of lived experience and clinical expertise, reminding us that the question isn't what's wrong with the child, but what happened to them and how can we help them to feel safe again. Jacintha, I know you go by also Jay. I just want to say welcome to our show. We are so glad you're here today and cannot wait to hear what you have to tell our listeners. We know that what you have to say will have a huge impact on them.
Thanks, Lizzie and Deana. Thank you. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for creating this beautiful space for people to be able to have that space to tell their story.
Oh, our pleasure. It is. It's a beautiful journey to meet such beautiful people that have definitely risen up from the ashes to do something that'll help others flourish, either getting out on the other side, all the good stuff that goes with it, or hard stuff. Jay, would you tell us a little bit about your pre-story of how you got here and then how everything evolved to who you are, what you're passionate about for today?
Well, that's a big conversation, Lizzie. I don't even know where to start. There's been so many elements and so many traumas in there that, it's been tough. I'm not going to lie. So when I was 17 and still at school, I started a relationship with somebody that was on and off for 15 years of my life, and that was domestically violent. And to be honest, back then, we didn't call it domestic violence. I was so young that it was just accepted. Like, that's okay. He's broken. I want to save him. And it was awful. He would pull me around the house by my hair. Like, it was just, looking back now, I cannot believe that I allowed somebody to treat me like that for such longevity as well. And I put so much focus on what was wrong with him, but then I started looking within myself and saying, why did I allow that? How low was my level of self-worth that I would allow somebody to treat me like that and think that it's okay? And where have those patterns and beliefs and habits come from that I would accept that behavior? And so that went for 15 years on and off. And I can't even tell you the time that I just said, that's it, I'm done. But there was definitely a time where I just said no. He used to party a lot, and it wasn't a life that I wanted to lead. The problem is I loved his friendship group and I loved the people he hung around with, and it was just really challenging until I finally made a decision for myself and said, this isn't where I want to be. And that was the first time I ever chose myself, really, and realized that I had the strength in me to move and to move away from this toxic environment. A lot of people around me couldn't believe that I would go back so many times, and I just wanted to save someone. I was just a little girl that wanted to be loved. I was so young. And then I was single for about 7 years and did a lot of work on myself, still continued partying and having a lot of fun. And I wouldn't take that part back. That's definitely shaped who I am today. I've met some really beautiful people and really great connections. And then I was in a relationship with somebody for 8 years and we had a child together. And becoming a mum was my absolute ultimate. That was when I really found myself, and that was where my life started, really, when I had my child. Like, from the moment he was born, I was like, this is amazing. And my ex-partner was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm like, really? Like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I love it. And we were together, for about 8, 9 years, and he just didn't love me. I loved and adored him. I accepted every part of him. There's definitely times that I could have been better or reacted better, but he just didn't love me. And it was a really hard relationship because I just wanted us to work, and unfortunately you can't make somebody love you. And towards the end of our relationship, it was, I love you, I don't, I love you, I don't, for 2 years. And I would always say, hey, I'd never force it. I'd say, hey, if you don't love me, that is okay. I'm okay with that. Like, we will be okay. There's the door. You are welcome to leave. And every time I said that, oh, no, 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 no. And that was really quite toxic in itself, because it was that, I just didn't know where I stood all the time. And then anytime I'd say something, it was like walking on eggshells for such a long time. And it's like, I had that level of acceptance saying, hey, it's okay. You can go. We are going to be okay. And so then that brutally ended. He went away to find himself, met somebody, and they started a relationship. And it was a very brutal time. So my son was starting school in 2020, and I begged and I said, hey, if you want to go, it's all good, but I want to be settled so my son can start school. I don't want him to move primary schools. And so by that stage, I knew that I needed healing. Like, I'd been through so many relationships that were really just not aligned to who I was. 9 years ago, I stopped drinking as well. That was the second time that I really chose myself and said, this is not who I want to be. And I was just on a very different path of just finding who I was without anybody else's opinions around me. And then, so we separated in 2019, 2020, and my son started school, and it was COVID all at the same time. And he was not okay. I was not okay. It was such a challenging time for us, for me and my son. He was throwing bins around the house, running up the street. Just, his emotions were so well beyond anything I could support at the time. And so even though I'd been on a meditation and yoga journey and a self-development journey, I'd been on it really for 20 years, but without realizing, I started studying to be able to support and help my own child. He was broken. I was broken. And so we started drawing circles, and because he couldn't express how he was feeling, he was 5 years old, he's 5, 6 years old. He can't express how you're feeling at that age. They don't even know what feelings are. They're just kids who want to play. And so I got him to draw circles. And in the circles, I said, can you just draw me the face of how you're feeling? And that's how we started expressing ourselves. So we might say angry or frustrated or disappointed. And so then I'd get him to break it down more. Can you tell me why you're feeling angry? Can you tell me why you're feeling disappointed? Can you tell me why you're sad? And so that was how I started getting him to express himself through play, through art. And that journey continued. Then I saw that kids couldn't gain access to psychologists. There was a 6 to 12 month wait. And that just absolutely broke me. Like, children have always had my heart, as have animals. And it was very challenging for me to see so many children all over the world just so broken, without support and assistance, at home, locked up in their houses with their families. And so then I studied to become a family and child counsellor, art therapist. I've studied play therapy. I'm a kids yoga teacher. So during selling up our house, moving to Torquay, which is the beach, it's the surfing capital here in Australia. And I just knew me and my son needed to heal. We just needed time to heal, to be near the beach, which is really healing for all of us. And then I had a private practice in Torquay. So that was kind of the birth of Happy Souls Kids, of everything that I'd learnt in my life, even through domestic violence, through self-love, through all of these elements, of putting it all together to be able to help people in the local community and beyond with kids and families. And we did that through play. That's a really long opening to my story, but that's kind of the basis of how I got here.
Wow. Because you guys went through a huge journey. And did he see his dad? again. I mean, sometimes kids are like, what happened to that parent? You know, they're there one day
Mm.
and gone the next because that happened to mine. And so they don't necessarily understand all of that.
So separation is so tough for adults to accept. So you can imagine how hard it is for kids. I remember my son saying to me, like, I didn't care about the fighting, mum. Like, it didn't bother me. Like, I just want you guys together. And we moved when we were both traumatized. So we moved into a country town where we could be close to the beach, but that was kind of when we were at our worst because we were both healing and confused and we didn't know anyone and we had to make friends, but his emotions were big and my emotions were big and it just wasn't us being solid as we are. And that was really hard for him because he would dysregulate so quickly and his friends couldn't handle that. Here's this new kid that's here that's getting upset and they were confused and it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just how it was. And I don't think anybody can really understand the depths of how a child feels and how much you emotionally have to hold them until you've been through it. Oh gosh, just thinking back of it, it was just so tough. Like it was so big. I did so I didn't have any day-to-day help with my son, but he did go to Melbourne, which was an hour and a half away. And I had to go through the legal process just to move, even though, he chose somebody else. And, it was just so like,
It's a
why can't you just
messy
let me go,
process.
start a life that I'd already spoken about before we had moved? Like we'd already had these conversations and it was just such a fight for me to fight for my own independence and what I know that my soul and his soul needed. So I didn't have any day-to-day help at all with him. It was all up to me. So I was working full-time in practice. I was a single mum, had a really broken child, I was broken myself as well. And then through the lawyers, this is what I agreed to in the end because I just needed to move, is that I had to do all the driving to Melbourne. And I never thought I'd have to do it all. I had to do it all. So I had to drive to Melbourne, which was a 4-hour drive. Like I'd have to drive to Melbourne, drop off my son and drive back again. So it was 4 hours on my only respite time away from my son for 4 years. Like it's a really long time. And I was with lawyers trying to get it changed and it just didn't happen. So needless to say, I've got lots of health issues now and I'm an exhausted mama. And so then that stopped, this weekend stopped and then I was just full-time mum all the time and I'm not sure what was better. Like I think having that stability for my son, but he's always found the transitions really hard. It's like going from Pluto to Mars. There's different rules, there's different ways of living, and then you come back to me and my way of living is hard, and that's hard for a kid to accept. They're like, I just don't really know where my place is.
And I used to
And
say it's
so,
like detox. Like they come home
yeah,
on Sunday night and it's like you have to go through a detox session that necessarily doesn't really start going through until that Tuesday.
yeah.
That Monday they're all dysregulated or just off kilter.
It is. It's that transitional period that, through the therapeutic process, I learnt to give my son control. So when he comes back to me, I'll say, what do you want to do? And we'd go down to the beach in nature and we'd maybe he'd need to dig a hole in sand, or maybe I am a robot and he would control me, or we'd play hide and seek. And I've just learnt that that's what kids need, is because they've taken all control out of their life when they're children of separation, divorce. And so giving them that power back to help them feel empowered within themselves is so important. So I always tell clients, I work with lots of separated clients now, is like, get straight back into nature. Like really go into nature, get them grounded, even if it's a park, it doesn't need to be anywhere big, and just allow them that space to let their emotions come out of them, because there generally is a moment where there is a massive explosion. So you want to be there to be able to hold that. And I think that's the part that people don't understand, is that it's like an emotional roller coaster every second weekend. And for us, we moved back to Melbourne just so I'm to be with family, because I think one of the strongest things I've ever said is I need help. Like I need help. I'm building a startup on top of everything else here. My son needs stability. He needs that male figures in his life to be able to support him. And my family didn't really come down to where we were living much. So we moved back to Melbourne to be with family, to just love, to be loved and adored by them, which is what my child needed. So yeah, it's a tough process of separation, and yeah,
And there's no
back.
one size fits all, right? It's
There
like
isn't.
going through a divorce. It's just you don't know what's going to be coming at you. You don't know what it's going to look like 6 months from now to a year from now because it shifts and it changes and it's a very uncertain journey. And I can
Mm.
imagine that moving to Melbourne kind of was bittersweet, so to speak. And
It
yeah,
was, because it's that losing of your independence as such of where you want to be, but at the same time I needed to be in Melbourne for my startup, which is doing really well. But I moved back to Melbourne to be closer to his dad, and he still hasn't been around that much. So hopefully now things are going to change, but it's so hard for my little guy. He has been through so much, so much, and it's not fair for him. It's not fair on him. It is all, I will say this, it is always in the best interest of the child to see the other party as long as it's safe. Because kids don't blame you, they blame themselves. And that's where their lack of self-worth comes from. So if you have any form of neurodiversity or anything in there, that they blame themselves, that, what did I do here? Kids generally will always want their parents to get back together. It's just easier to have everyone under one roof in their eyes, not in ours. But yeah, it breaks my heart how often children are used as pawns in relationships, because as I've learnt the hard way, you can't control what they do at the other person's house. You have to just surrender and let it go. And you have to say, this is my time. I need my cup to be so full, so when my child comes back and that Tasmanian devil that just runs through, I've got to be able to hold that. And I think that's one of the lessons that I had to learn, is when I don't have my child, I can't be thinking about what he's doing. I need to make sure I'm working on myself.
that's a great reminder. I think that's something that whether you're single or not, I think you lose focus of really focusing on yourself. And I think that's why a lot of people are lost when their child leaves the nest. Like I said, whether they're stayed with the partner or they didn't, that self-care is huge. And focusing and taking your focus off of where your child is at all times. It's a hard one to do for many parents, especially moms, I think. I know some dads go through it too. Yeah.
Yeah, that especially that first time that you get like a whole week to yourself, and you're just like, I just cried the first time. I was like, oh, this is a lot. But I've never really had more than a week off my child in 5 years. It's big.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, divorce is really terrible. It's really terrible. I mean, none of us ever go into a relationship saying that we want to split up or divorce. That's never on our mind, especially when we have a child. But, unfortunately, these things happen. And so, like, you just do what you did. And you just did everything you could to learn and to grow and to make the best of it. And so, with Happy Souls kids, so what is it that you would do? So if we have parents out there with children that, obviously are having issues or even have had issues with their parents separating and are having a hard time, how does that parent reach the child emotionally? Like, what are some tips and tools they can do, or grandparents or anybody in the family dynamic that can be with that child and help that child?
Yeah, it's interesting. My dad is like a father figure to my son that he wasn't to me, and it's so healing for me. It's been so beautiful. But I've had to teach him how to relate to him in different language and different ways to be able to connect, because those old school ways don't work with our kids anymore. Eat concrete, harden up, you'll be right, get over it. But it has been so healing for me to be able to watch him just be such a great role model for my son. They're like best friends. It's very cute. There's a couple of things here. The first thing is that you really need to listen to kids. As parents, as adults, we have this innate way that we want to be able to fix our kids, but we're actually robbing them of the experience of feeling into what they need to feel. We are our children's guides. We're not there to control them. So we need to teach them ways, which is through self-regulation, for them to be able to manage their feelings. And it's really important that when they're talking, we just sit and we listen and we say, hey, I got you. I got you through all of this. We don't want to fix them. We don't want to fix their problems for them unless, of course, they ask. We want them to be able to have a safe space to be able to express however it is that they're feeling, and for us to just say, yep, I understand that must be really hard for you. Rather than, oh, well, what about if you did this, 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 and this? There was an element of control that I had with my own child as well that I had to release, and that was hard. And that was really when I became a therapist, and we get messy. The mess is in the healing. I was also often known as the slime lady. Kids would come in and make slime because they were never allowed to at home because it was too messy. But it's that beautiful element of moving those big feelings and emotions through your body that is so regulating for kids. Or maybe it's a sand tray that they can go into. But when they first started doing it and there was mess, and I had to move through that control within myself, and that came from my mum of always having to have a clean house and everything not to be messy, and that was generational stuff that I had to move through. And it's allowing kids to feel into what they need, because they know what they need, and often will say, nope, we're not doing that. Nope, slime's too messy, we're not having that. But it's creating boundaries within that. Okay, we can make slime, but can we do it on the kitchen table, and can we do it together? We're not allowed to have it on the couch. Or maybe it's sand that you can accept within yourself, or maybe it's art. Maybe there's an art area where kids can go to, and it's creating a calm area for them that when they need it, it's there. It's right there with them, that they have that ability to be able to go to and say, hey, I've got this big stuff happening in my body right now and I don't know what to do. And so it's them intuitively knowing, maybe it's a punching bag, maybe it's a boxing bag that they have anger to get out of their body, or just different modalities that they need. And it's having a conversation with your child and saying, not when they're dysregulated. A lot of parents are like, hey, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. That's not the time to be telling your kid to breathe. They can't hear you. They're on another planet. They're gone. So in the moments of dysregulation, just sit in the uncomfortableness with them. And I know how hard that is. Trust me, I know. As long as you're safe. I know kids can get quite aggressive at times, but we don't want them to hurt you. We want them to get the anger out of their body, but we just need to create boundaries around, hey, don't hurt me. Like, I don't accept that behavior. That's like, it is okay to feel anger, and I understand exactly why you're feeling anger right now, and your anger is so welcome. All emotions are welcome in our body, but I don't accept letting that anger out on me. Here's a pillow, here's a punching bag, here's a bean bag. I want you to let your anger out on the pillow. So we don't want to stop that. We don't want to stop the anger from coming out of their body. There's this beautiful book that I read recently. It's called Human Medicine by a friend of mine, Charlie Goldsmith. And he said something in there that's so profound for me, even after doing this work for so long. He said, emotions are like, when you need to go to the toilet, you don't go, oh, I'm going to deal with that later. You go to the toilet because that's what you need. It's the same thing with our feelings and emotions. When they're coming up to be released. So we can't just say, we're just going to put pause on that and we're going to come back to it later, because you don't have the same feeling. So it's really important that we have that feeling for our children as well. If they're angry, and sometimes that's at a supermarket, sometimes that's at a restaurant, sometimes that's at a friend's house when it's completely inconvenient, but just creating that safety within them to say, hey, you got a lot going on here and it's okay. It's that level of acceptance with emotions. Let them come out and then they can move through it.
I absolutely love hearing that. And I actually appreciate when you say, don't tell them to just breathe, because I don't like it when my kids say that to me when I'm a little dysregulated.
Yeah.
In fact, they're like, well, how do I say it, Mom? Not at all.
Yeah. Just calm down.
That just spirals you, right?
Yeah, just calm down. You're like, I'm sorry, what? That's the same thing as what we're doing to our kids.
Yeah. So if we adults have a hard time, I think those are just some wonderful tips for sure. Great reminders too. Some of them are just simple, but we always wonder, we just want everybody to control their emotions. Adults too, adults and especially children. That's okay. Just sit down, be quiet. Deana, did you have any other questions? Or
I think the only question I would have would be like a practical question. So if you're a parent of a child, and obviously kids, when they get dysregulated, they can do all kinds of crazy things. When you were helping your son with this, how did you know which things to offer your child that would help them the most? Because it sounds like what you're saying is every child is different, or maybe their emotional dysregulation is different. So they need different types of play to release and work through that. Did you just offer your son like different modalities? Like, hey, what do you feel like doing? Here's a few things. Or is there a way to kind of understand, like, okay, they're super angry right now, this might be what they need? Like, how would you kind of know how to direct that child?
Yeah, beautiful question. So this has been learnt over time, and it was one of those things that I would have the conversations with him when he was regulated. We would watch shows. There's a beautiful program called Go Zen, which is in America actually. And we would watch Go Zen and learn about emotions and feelings. And then we would work out what he needed when he was regulated, not when he was dysregulated. So we would have these constant conversations of, what is it that your body needs in those moments? So just so we can keep you safe and I can keep myself safe, what is it that you need in those moments? And so we would talk about it regularly, and we would watch different, like read different books, or we would, watch different shows on emotional healing, etc. So these conversations became normalized, and then I would mirror the behavior. So I would be really authentic with how I was feeling. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling really angry. And so in moments where I'm angry, my son would say to me, Mummy, you're angry, you need to go for a run. And he learnt that at 8 years old. Like, Mum, I think you just need to go for a run. And he's learnt that the way I'm feeling isn't about him. That's how I'm feeling inside myself, and that's something to deal with. And he's learnt that from a really young age. He has a bigger emotional intelligence than most adults, because we normalize these conversations. And so it's sitting down as a family, working out what your family values are, working out what your boundaries are, and working out different ways to self-regulate and what kids need. So if they're angry, we need a punching bag, etc. I actually had this beautiful moment. It was just this week. As I said, I've been quite sick lately, and there's a lot of, for me, as I know, as a counselor, it's always emotional stuff that we're moving through, and there's been a lot of betrayal in my life lately. And we went up to the park the other day, and I just had like these big feelings, and I just couldn't stop crying. And it was dark, and my son comes over and he goes, Mummy, just let it out. Mummy, just let it out. I'm here with you. Just let out whatever you need to let out. Is there anything that you need? Let me give you a hug. And it's because I've modeled this to him over time. I haven't told him to stop crying or get over it. I've modeled to him that it's okay to have feelings, and it doesn't mean that we're broken or anything's wrong with us. It just means that we're having feelings, and that's okay. And I think the best thing that we can do is model that behavior. So if you're sitting at a kitchen table at nighttime and your child says, hey, how was your day? You don't say, I had a really good day. You be really authentic. Actually, I felt really disappointed today because I had this contract fall through and it was really upsetting for me. And I just had to sit in the feelings, and I just went to my car and I cried a little bit, and I just sat with how I was feeling. I was feeling sad, and I was feeling a bit frustrated and disappointed. And so through the modeling of conversations, that's how we teach our children to behave. Because as parents, especially through separation, we try and put this like ring of fire around us and our, Wonder Woman or Superman, where we're just like, oh, I'm so tough and macho and nothing bothers me. But you're actually doing a disservice to your children, because through those times they're hurting. And if you're acting like you're okay, they think, I have to be okay too. And then it's going to come out at the soccer field, on another kid, or at school in different elements. But the one thing that's the biggest part that I haven't even mentioned yet is connection. There's studies that say that if you connect to your child for at least 20 minutes a day, now obviously we want a lot more than 20 minutes of just connecting in together. And that doesn't mean I'm going to sit on the floor with my child while they play with their toys and I'm going to go through my to-do list. It means being in that moment with the child, because they can feel when you're not. They can feel every part of you when you're not. Being in that with them 100% of just whatever. It might be gaming. My kid loves gaming. I thought I'd be like an earth mum and we'd live near the land and we'd be surfing, and that's not who my child is. I had to accept the part of him that he has an engineering brain. He's extremely intelligent. He was putting batteries in toys when he was 2 years old. And we had a big fight with technology because I was always like, stay off technology. We don't want to be on tech. It's a part of who he is. So until I accepted every single part of him wholeheartedly, that's when we started connecting together. And so now I go into his world. I will play Donkey Kong with him and Super Mario, and he plays Minecraft. I'm not a fan of Roblox at all, but there was a time where he did play Roblox, but his behavior changed. So it's just making sure that we as parents go into a child's world, and parents will always say, the play's really boring for me. But find something that you like doing together. That could be a game of Uno, board games, it could be whatever it can be, but give the kid control. Give them the ability to be able to say, this is what I want to do. Give them a voice. So important.
That is so beautiful. And if you are listening, I would like to say to really pay attention to that, because this has been a reflection of me. Like, I was not a playful mom. I had a hard time connecting. I was trying to survive. I was a single mom with 4 kids. Their dad was totally out of the picture. I was working full time, going to school. And I look at that now and it just makes my heart sad, because it's like, what a good way to connect with your children, even after so much loss. Even if you are in a chaotic lifestyle, how important it is to really take that time to play. I've learned a lot. I think my boys and I have a really good relationship. I think any relationship could have room for growth. And I'm learning as a grandparent. I'm learning some of these skills. And I thought of your dad as well. Like, you feel like he was a better grandfather than he was possibly a father. Maybe, I don't know if that would be the right way to say it, but I can understand. I can actually empathize with that, because I wonder if I'm a better grandmother than I was as a mother, because I was too busy just trying to, in my head, survive, that I didn't take the time to really, dissect my own children's emotions.
Just take a moment that you were doing your best, that we don't
Oh,
know what we
thank you.
don't know.
Yeah.
And we go through these elements. And I mean, you've got a podcast now talking about all of these things and supporting and helping people through your situations and your journey. So first of all, please give yourself a hug and forgive yourself, because
Thank you. Yeah.
there's no rule book when we become parents to say this is the gene of your child, and you've got 4 kids. They're all different. They're not the same. And we have to parent them in different ways, and that's hard,
Yes, it is.
especially as
Especially
a
they all
single
have 4
mom.
different games and sports they play,
Yeah,
because
it's overwhelming.
you want to honor each of their gifts and their talents. There was times I'm like, can y'all just play soccer? Can y'all just swim? But it was
Yeah.
never like that, right? Because then we would try to put them in a little cookie cutter, and that wasn't the purpose of it.
No, exactly. But we
I think
do know our best.
too,
Yeah.
yeah, I think too, Lizzie, to your point, especially with what you went through, which you were just, I know for a fact that today you're just a hero to your kids, because you were there for them and you did whatever you could do to make sure that there was food on the table, and, got yourself a teaching degree and got a career and did whatever you could, worked cleaning houses on the side until, you couldn't anymore, and all those things. Like, you were just a hero to your children. But, and also I think for a lot of parents, I think will resonate, if you're coming out of a toxic relationship, just like you, Jacintha, like you, Lizzie. My kids were basically adults when I came out of that toxic relationship, but they were small when I was in the toxic relationship. We are just also so broken. Like, we are just in absolute survival mode. Like, for us to really find our footing to be the ideal parent during a time when we're maneuvering a toxic individual that is probably putting us and our children through a measure of hell. And we're constantly trying to just, balance the atmosphere of the home, to make it to where our kids have some peace. And I know for us anyway, like, just always trying to anticipate whatever was going to happen, whatever mood was going to be in the house, whatever treatment the kids were going to get, because he just wasn't hearing it, wasn't patient, wasn't whatever. He was always angry. And when you're in that mode, like, I think it's kind of like, the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic in your body. You can't function in a homeostasis type of way, because you're just trying to survive. But I totally understand and agree, though, because I also just, was in that relationship with my ex, but I was also very bored. Like the kids would want to play whatever, and I would just get bored. I was like, I can only do this for so long. Like I'm, and I also have regrets about not connecting with them on an individual level, and I think my kids have now gotten it. I think somehow through my mistakes, which is also another blessing, Lizzie. I'm sure you've seen that with your kids. I think it's sometimes through our mistakes and our errors and the things we do wrong that our children get it right because of what we didn't do, so we also have to just take some comfort in that too.
And it's
100%
never
agree.
too late. Yeah, it's never too late to have these conversations
Mm-mm.
with your kids to be able to say, hey, I was not the best mum that I could be. And this is a conversation I have with my son all the time. Like, what can I do to be a better mum? Most of the time, it's stop working as much. It's, oh, I've got bills to pay. It's hard, but it's never too late to be able to say to our kids, I've actually just got this beautiful thing that I put on my TikTok once, and I'd really love to play it to you because it has like got almost 1 million views. I'm not saying it, but I just love it. And it's just proves the fact that to kids that it's not you. You're not the problem here. I've got some really big stuff to I'm just going to play it. What stopped? Siri, sorry.
I am sorry for the unhealed parts of me that may have hurt you. I am sorry for the lack of awareness that I may have had in the past or that I may still have sometimes now, because it was never about the lack of love for you, because I love you so much. It was about the lack of love for me. And I will continue to stay on this healing journey and show you how much you mean to me and how much I love you forever.
How beautiful, huh?
That is so beautiful. In fact, maybe, Jay, if you can email that to us, we could try to put the link into our podcast. It's such a good reminder. And that is a conversation that if you found that we're like me or Deana, I will say that I had a beautiful conversations with my boys where I gave them that freedom to speak their hearts of what they felt like that I might have missed, right? Because none of us parents are perfect. And as I told him, I'm really sorry that I did that. But now that I love you and I can't go back, all I can do is what we can do moving forward. And I wouldn't say it's mended whatever brokenness I think we've had, because now I feel like we're kind of connected more now than we were maybe 10 years ago, which is really cool. But I
Yeah.
hope to give that hope to other people that if you found that you're listening to this, or you were in my situation or Deana's situation or even Jay's situation, that as parents, we will have some of these feelings, but it's so wonderful that now we have more and more tools that we can share, we can learn from. We can't change the past, just move forward. But
Yeah. It's
that's so
never too late.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's never too late. Even if a child doesn't respond, I've had a lot of people comment on that, and I'm sure you can read the comments of just like, well, my kid doesn't want to talk to me. It's like, but just never give up. Like, just don't,
Yes.
just keep on trying and keep on trying and keep on trying, because all of these things are so hard. And through separation, there's so much toxicity that happens, and people are saying different things to different kids, and it's confusing for them. But kids know the truth. They know who is there for them and who is not. And I would always encourage parents to always speak about the other person, no matter how hard they've been to you. It's still their parent. It's still their father or their mother. So
Mhm.
always speaking positively about them. The
Yeah.
child always works things out. They are very intuitive. So just making sure that you always just speak of the other parent in the most positive light, because they'll work it out.
Absolutely. So well said.
And I do feel like that's going to seriously resonate with parents out there that are struggling to know what to do to help their child through these things. So thank you so much for what you do. And we'll definitely put a link to Happy Souls Kids. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. And just to all parents, like, you are enough. You are enough, and you have everything inside of you. And it's a level of forgiveness and heart that you need for yourself first. So compassion, empathy is what we need to have, not just for our kids, but also for ourselves.
Well
And it's
said.
so important.
There you
Yeah.
go.
That's beautiful. Nothing else. Thank you again, Jacintha,
Yeah.
for being here. If you're parenting through separation, anxiety, or big feelings, you're not failing, you are healing. Try one tool this week, then come back and share what may have shifted. We love for you to subscribe and follow so you never miss an episode. But even more, leaving a comment or review on any of our podcast platforms helps this message reach others who may need hope and healing. And don't forget to check the descriptions for ways to connect with Jacintha and Happy Souls Kids. We appreciate you taking the time to listen today, and we hope you have a wonderful day.